Thank you for attending today's webinar. Tad Stevens, CPEthink.com here. With a little housekeeping, there will be 3 poll questions per credit hour. All poll questions must be answered to get credit for the webinar. If you can't answer the poll for a technical reason or some other reason, just answer it in the chat and we will record it that way. Ask questions as we go. There will usually be at least 2 people working the questions or the chat box. There will always be at least 1. To get your certificate of completion, if you will look at the screen here, this is what your take exam column will look like before you complete the webinar or before it's over. After the webinar is over, give us about 30 to 60 minutes and we will have it up, the system updated from the webinar provider, and it will look like this so that you can get your certificate of completion. If you have any support issues, just click the chat bubble down at the bottom, open a new conversation like that, and we'll get it taken care of, or send us an email to service@cpethink.com. Thanks a lot.
Sales Mastery, Performance-Driven Selling. Thanks for joining us. I'm Dr. Jeffrey McGee, and you are now in webinar series number 2. We want to fixate here on understanding the customer trends. I want to give you some strategic ways of looking at the customer trends that are going on in the marketplace as they may relate to your business, may also relate to why people are not coming to you in your business. So a lot of ways you can look at this data. And then I'm going to give you a couple of tactical ways to even use some of these strategic ideas in this next section. So in your handout, you now have, in essence, a digital copy of this book. If you're just joining us for this module, you've missed out on a couple of great programs before this one. Please go back and look at those when you get a chance. If you're following these in sequential order, thank you for being kind of architecturally organized to do it that way. But the beauty of the Sales Mastery seminar series is that you can jump in on any one of the webinar modules by topic that best suits the needs you have right now. So in looking at this, when we're talking about understanding customer trends, there's a lot of organizations that will do data survey for you. You can even engage in doing some surveys yourself, which we'll talk about surveys later on as a strategic and tactical way to engage your clients, identify best practices, what are your core competencies, what are those core deliverables, and just really how to become better connected with the clients. We'll talk about that later. So here we're talking about some of those trends. There's an organization here on page 11 we're circling, and you can do some Google research later. But the organization is called the Forum Organization, Forum Corporation. Here's why I like the Forum Group. The Forum Group will go out and do some research. They'll get the answers, and whether you like the answers or not, that's going to be the data. So they don't have a bias. I don't know about you, but years ago, I kind of started realizing that most organizations, individuals, groups, when they do any kind of survey, it's kind of like they already have an endpoint in mind, and they go out and look for data to back up that endpoint, which is really not the best way to do business over the long term. It might be good for a short term, but not the long term. So I like the Forum Organization because they don't play that game. You know, you say, here's what I want, and they go out and do the research, and if the research supports it, great. If the research shows something else, that's your clue. Sorry, here's what the research shows. So what they found is that customers leave you. Customers leave you for one of 4 macro reasons. Think about yourself, you as a customer, you've left a vendor. I hate that label, but we know what it means. You've left a vendor, you've left an organization as a customer, went somewhere else for typically one of 4 reasons. So we have to understand as business practitioners or as sales professionals, why is a customer leaving us so we'll know what to do next, both strategically and tactically. But here's the backup bonus to the first data at the top of page 11. I also recognize that while this might be why customers leave us, it can also be why customers are not coming to us. So that can give you insights as to how to readjust your marketing or advertising or promotional or community outreach campaigns. How you go about communicating outbound to the marketplace that's not buying from you. You're trying to attract them to you. So customers leave us for 4 reasons. Number 1, roughly 15% of data surveys show the customers leave for financial reasons. They believe your deliverable is now getting to a price point that's out of reach for them or out of budget. What this may also be saying is that you're not doing a good job conveying your value proposition. You're not doing a good job conveying your value proposition. Sometimes the price point is out of reach, and so we decide, you know what, I can go somewhere else and get something that will work just as good at a lower price point. Or I might even be able to get the exact same product somewhere else at a lower price point. So if you're fighting that one, then you may recognize you may not be able to win that one. So focus on the categories you can affect change on, and don't worry about the ones you have no control over. So as a sales professional, example might be we lose a deal on number one because we can't get the right financials for them. Don't spend the next 3 days in depression and throwing everyone else in the organization under the bus for not helping you. Focus on where you can do some business. So 15% is financial. Second reason people leave another 15% is the word need, N-E-E-D. What that customer needs, you're not able to offer, or you no longer offer, or the reason I was coming to you was for product ABC and you no longer offer product ABC. So keep that in mind. You as a customer sometimes will leave doing business in one place and go to another because what you need, the other one offers, this one doesn't. Or what you need, the other one offers because it's something new and your existing one doesn't offer because they've never offered it. So second reason customers leave is because of needs. Now, this one, again, we may not be able to affect change. We may not be able to sell them and keep them if we can't truly fulfill their needs. But do recognize if you lose a customer because of reason one or two, you want to make their transition away from you as positive and easy and painless as possible so they've left you on good terms. So in the future, if you can speak to those, you now have a legitimate reason to go back to them, and they're going to think of you at least in some sort of a positive way than if they left you over one and two and you got into a real ugly situation with them. So always be conscious why customers don't come to you or they essence are leaving us. Need. Another way of looking at need. Look at your websites, folks. If you offer, for sake of conversation, 10 products, 10 deliverables, and I go to your website and it very fast, quick, easy, obviously promotes 5 of those, then the 5 that I don't see very quickly, the customer doesn't know you offer that. And if they need that and they don't ask and you don't know enough to be aware perceptively to offer that in a conversation, if the 5 things that you offer are not easily promoted on your website and someone needs that, they're going to go somewhere else to another vendor to buy that. They may still stay with you as a customer on the first 5 that they know you offer they're buying, but the other 5 they could have been buying from you, they're going to go somewhere else. And now they're split their money and they're going to 2 different vendors. Hate that label, but now they're buying from 2 people. So if they become a little bit more comfortable with that other vendor can start to pull them away one at a time from those other first 5 products they sell. So again, number 2 is very powerful. Don't just look at these 4 answers and quickly dismiss them. Think about each one in terms of what it means for you, your literature, your website, your social media campaigns, what you post in essence on different social media platforms. Are you always pushing one sort of deliverable but not the others? Then you're actually conditioning the marketplace to not think of you for those others and only think of you for these. So 1 and 2. 25% of why customers leave is going to be, in essence, communication issues. 25% of why customers say they leave: lack of communication, ineffective communication, inferior communication, or over communication. But it can be communication breakdowns. Your customers like to be communicated to and connected with via text messaging, and you don't do that. Or do they like to get emails and you don't do that? Or do they like voicemails and you don't do that? Or do they like, in essence, videos and blogs or articles? Or, I mean, just think about how do they like to be connected with? They like to see you live, and shake your hand at a trade show or at an event or at a VIP thank you, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Do they want awards? Do they want accolades? I mean, you've got to know how people want to be communicated to in your business, and are you reaching out to them that way? What's fascinating is 45% of why customers say they leave is perception. You don't care about me. My business is not of value to you. You only work with these kinds of businesses. You don't work with our kinds of business. So you've got to be careful how you promote yourself. I mean, I work with billion-dollar global businesses around the world. Well, if I only promoted that, then the small business of 50 to 100 employees is going to think, oh my gosh, we can't bring Jeff in. So you've got to be careful. I work with small and large corporations. So again, if I'm working in the leadership vein and a sales vein, what's a good avatar for me? That'll tell me why it might be that a $300 million company is just as effective for me to work with and just as good as a target as a $6 billion company. So you have to have clarity of that. So 45% is perception, 25% is communication, 15% is the needs, and the first 10% or the last of the 4 is going to be financials. So with the form comes operation has found is that customers, when they do exit interviews and they do an analysis in the marketplace, why people are leaving, those are the 4 macros they come up with. Think about how that relates to your business. Think about how that relates to how you engage your customers. Financials. If I have a great product line, that's a good product line that our business has decided to get out of, and I have a huge amount of inventory sitting back there of that, I'm going to, in essence, go to my best customers that use that and say, hey, we're transitioning from this because we're upgrading to another product, what have you, and I can give you a special deal on this, very, very powerful price points. Now I'm moving it from my inventory to their inventory versus it sitting in my warehouse and collecting dust. It gives you a new way of looking at things. A lot of businesses have a lot of products sitting on the shelves because their team doesn't want to fixate on selling it. Is it sitting on the shelves because it's a part of what we should be selling that'll hold your team accountable? Or is it sitting on the shelves because we've evolved away from that? Then how do we recycle it? How do we put it back into inventory? How do we clear it out fast? How do we gift it as a community service? I mean, think about ways to get more value out of it versus sitting on the shelf. That's what number 1 gives you. Making sense? All right, moving to the middle of the page. So there's 2 primary types of customers that we as individuals need to focus on as salespeople. We're talking about sales right now. So sales professionals, we have 2 different demographics we deal with. Number 1 is called, in essence, internal customers. So number 1 is internal customers. So your internal customers are going to be, in essence, coworkers, colleagues, other departments. Internal customers, you could vaguely even view this as outsourced vendors that maybe you have to connect with to get something from them in order to take care of your external customers. So number 2 then is external customers. So as a sales professional, your demographic, the people you touch in the world right now in this module falls into internals and externals. Internals are the people that get a paycheck like you for the same company. And externals are the people we connect with in the marketplace that are buying our deliverable that generates the cash flow, the revenue stream from which we can have profitability streams and we make our money. So here's why I put that down as a strategic game, if you will. There's a percentage sign to the right of each. Let me just kind of ask you the question. So if we had 100% of our time on any given day, and we can divide that time between internals and externals, and we're in sales. We're the sales mode person right now. We're a sales professional right now as I'm describing it. Put the percentage sign next to those 2 that would probably be the best use of our time. So if you're the sales machine for your organization, is it better for us to spend more of our time with externals or internals? Spend more of our time with the people that are going to buy our product or spend more time with our coworkers? Not to influence the audience, as they say. So the number should be this. It should be at least 51% higher next to external and 49% or lower next to internal. So if you're the sales professional, every time you're on a sales call with your coworkers or boss, you're in internal time. Time's coming off the clock. Every time you're sitting in a meeting in an organization, you're internal. Time's coming off the clock. Every time you're traveling Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, boom, time's coming off the clock. Every time you're trying to track something down internally so you can go talk to your externals, boom, time's coming off the clock. So from a sales perspective, you have to make sure you have systems and processes and procedures, all things we talked about in webinar number 1, that helps to guard us so we have maximum amount of time with the external marketplace, because the sales professional, that's your job, is the external marketplace. Very important to look at those 2 core types of customers, the individuals and organizations we deal with, and really ask them at any given day, where's your time being consumed? Strategically understanding customer trends. You're not going to find those customer trends if you're spending all your time at the coffee pot machine talking to your coworkers, as they say. Again, look at what you're doing on the internet. Look at what you're doing when you're doing search engines. Look at what you're doing by day. If you did a time and motion study and just looked at yourself, you would see, are you truly a peak performer maximizing your time, or are you actually sometimes your own biggest enemy because you're wasting your own time away? So understanding these customer trends, let's go to the bottom of the page, psychology. So another beauty here is that psychology tells us, excuse me, when we go to make a decision, there are 8 types of decisions one brain actually makes, is what the bottom of this page is trying to assert. This was a huge eye-opener to me in sales many years ago when I stumbled upon this revelation. So when you're presenting to someone, you've got to make sure you're presenting to all 8 of these little internal voices in the head. Because any one of these internal voices you miss can be the voice that vetoes your proposal when you hang up the phone or walk away. Just like when you go to a store to buy something, the decision of buying something is being influenced by these 8 little voices in your head. Think of them as 8 people, 8 teams, 8 committees. If you're looking at a proposal you're making, and sometimes you have large proposals you're making into an organization, think about it. There could be 8 different people at the other end. They're going to vet and examine and look at your proposal. Who are you talking to? Because any one of these 8 that you've not identified the human being that owns it is part of your job as a sales professional to back up and go, whoa, wait a second. Until I get this name, I may actually be working really hard at losing this sale. So let's break down the bottom of page 11. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 on the left side. Then you have 5, 6, 7, 8 to the right side. Put a bracket on the left side of 1, 2, 3, 4. Put a bracket on the left side of 1, 2, 3, 4. And now let's label those 4 subdecisions on the left side. Label that with IQ. There's 4 logic points to a decision. There's 4 ways we logically scrutinize a decision. To feel more confident in making it, or any one of them may cause us pause to back up and become a little more skeptical. On the right side of the bottom of the page, so to the right of 5, 6, 7, 8, on the bottom right side, put a bracket there. Bracket the right side. So you bracketed the bottom left and put IQ for logic. If we bracket the bottom right side, let's put EQ for emotional quotient, EQ. There's also 4 emotional decisions we make. Now, we've heard in different conversations in life, people buy emotionally and then support it with logic. Well, maybe we're about to get some clues here. Or there's certain ways we make decisions quickly because of these variables, and then these other variables kick in. All of that's a bottom portion of this page. But what I want you to do is I want you to put a star on number 4. More often than not, sales are not made because you spend too much time on number 4. You spent a ton of time on 4, you hung up the phone or turned off the video call or walked away from that person, and you're 100% confident they're going to buy. And you're 100% confident because of not 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, and 8. You're more confident because of number 4. And the problem is 4 alone is going to change its mind overnight. Then when you try to follow up with them, they don't reconnect with you. It's because 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8 is talking to them, and you didn't speak to those. So be very guarded. I'm not saying don't play with 4. You can play with 4 all day long, but you better hit the other 7 as well. So here's the logic side, and in no particular order of 1, 2, 3. When you go to make a proposal presentation, when you're selling to someone, just like when you're purchasing or you're going to buy, if you're trying to recruit someone to the organization, you're a recruiter and you're on the membership side, you're trying to get someone to join the organization, same things are at play. So number 1 is financial. People always look at any sort of a purchase or commitment from a financial perspective. What's it going to cost? What's the price? What's the value? How am I going to get paid? I mean, there's always a financial to it. So what are the financials? Do I pay? Do I use credit card? Do I use layaway? Is there a payment plan? I mean, so there's always a financial component. Will it fit into our budget? How do we make it work? It's kind of outside the budget. How do we, in essence, not break the rules or laws or regulations and still find a way to pay for it? Always a financial conversation with people. You know, do we delay payment, until next quarter? See, those are all financials. So 1 is financial. 2 is going to be technical. There's always a technical component to sales as well. Technically, how does this work? How do we implement? Technically, does it do what I need it to do? Technically, does it fit the requirements? Does it fit the government regulations? Is it OSHA compliant? Is it et cetera? So there's always going to be a technical. So again, do you need the technical decision maker on the phone or in the meeting, whether that's the engineer or the business owner or the boss? Financial, is that the controller? Is that the person writing the check? Is that the person in purchasing, or is it the boss? Again, those elements. Is it another family member? So 1 is financial, 2 is technical. 3rd on that logic side is user. Then there's always going to be a user conversation. Do I see myself using this if I buy it or acquire it? Do I see myself doing this if I were to enlist and join your organization? Do I see myself doing these things? Are those things going to make me better? Are those things going to allow me to accomplish my trajectory code? Go back to module 1. Remember that trajectory code model. That letter C on the trajectory code model can also represent goals, objectives. What are my goals? What am I trying to accomplish? So if I am the user, this can help me to accomplish my goals. See, again, the user. Sometimes you start to buy something, then you hesitate because you think, as a user, I have 3 of those at home right now, and I don't really use those. So you know what? I think I'll pass on this one. User. So the user, you're at a restaurant, do I really want to have that as a side dish or an entree? Last time I had that, well, it sounded good. I got sick. I don't want to get sick again. So the internal voice says, look at something else on the menu. See, that's the user conversation. We all have those. I bought that last time, something like that for my organization. Everyone in my organization gave me grief. No one used that. Everyone pushed back. And the end of the day, when the dust settled, I spent all that money. It had great opportunity for success, but no one used it. So if I buy this, something like this, it's like I'll just pass. So there's always those dialogues in our head with the user. So again, on the logic side, you have financial, technical, and user. The third one, a fourth one. You can label this fourth one any label you want. You can call number 4 advocate. This is the advocate voice or the advocate decision. Or this is that cheerleader voice in your head that says, buy it, get it quick. Ooh, there's only 2 left, buy both. See, sometimes it's that conversation you're having with the other person when they're excited. Oh my God, this would be great. Yes, we need it. Oh, this would be perfect. It'll solve all our problems. Oh, this is fantastic. Oh, I want to do this. Give me how I do this. Where do I need to go to buy it? Give me the application. I mean, they're all excited, but if they don't sign, then that's a clue. You're talking to the advocate, the champion, the cheerleader, that voice that's saying, go, 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 go. But later on, when they're by themselves or they're with a business colleague or a family member, then they're going to scrutinize what they were excited about. And then they may realize financially, it doesn't quite add up. Or technically, it doesn't quite add up. Or user, I don't really think I'm going to do that. And then you lose the sell. So be very careful. A lot of people have on their 5 at 5 list. Taught you that one in the first webinar. A lot of people have on their 5 at 5, that next customer they're going to sell and close. If you scrutinize that name on the list, why is it? You now can scrutinize it through these 8 variables. Did your proposal speak to all 8 of these? And did they give you feedback yes to each of these 8? Do you know if they own all 8 of these? And if those are all yeses, then you probably have clarity of how you're going to make that sale happen on Monday morning. But the 5 and 5 also gives you a chance to look at those top 5 people. And when you run them through this grid down here, what's the psychological 8 decisions we make? And you know what, this person really is excited. But when I start thinking about it, we really didn't have a really good financial interaction and conversation, or technical interaction and conversation, or user interaction and conversation. So, oh my God, we had a huge number 4. Whoa, I'm in deep trouble. I need to get back on the phone and call them right back now. Logic. Let's go to the emotion side. So again, we make decisions on 4 basic emotions. Number 5 is the word better. People always typically are looking for better than what they have right now. If they can't find better than they're comfortable with, they're going to be complacent and stay with what they have. So if your proposal doesn't help them see how to become better, then you're not giving them an emotional reason to want to step forward. And then again, when they get into the meat of the word better, then you might be backing it up with more technical components or financial components or user components. So everyone wants to be better. Everyone wants something better. No one's going to go into a store and ask for the opposite of better. Trust me. No one's going to walk in the front door of a store, find a customer service representative and say, hey, where's your crap aisle? I want some really bad, unreliable crap, and I want to pay a lot of money for it. I mean, no one says that. You think the opposite. I mean, like the clearance section is kind of code for crap, but even when you go to the clearance section, you look and see if there's something by chance that might be good that you like, that there's better in the other words, and then you might buy it. But a lot of times people are looking for not the opposite. They are looking for the word better. So better is 5. 6 is going to be faster. Faster, efficiency. If you can show the customer how your new product is more efficient than what they have now, they'll upgrade. If you can show the marketplace how what you have is better than what's out there now or better than what they have, it's faster, more efficient than what they have and what's out there, you're giving them a reason to come and look at your proposal. Or if you're at a trade show, come and look at your table or your wall or your booth, your information. So better, faster. Number 7 is going to be the word different. How is this different from everything else in the marketplace? And if difference a hook that brings them in, then very quickly you have to show them how that difference is going to be better or faster, more efficient, or technically more, see where I'm going with these things? So people are going to quickly make a quick judgment on better, faster, different. They're not going to typically go buy something that's opposite of better, crap. Opposite of faster, works slow. Opposite word different, doesn't work, and no one wants it anyway. That's why it's stuff over there to the side. And number 8 is cost effective. Cost effective. Everyone's looking for think of that adage. Everyone's looking for the biggest bang for their buck. So how is this most cost effective? And cost effective, again, remind yourself as sales professionals, cost effective does not always mean cheaper. Sometimes cost effective may actually be a little bit more price point higher than some of the other options in the marketplace. But over the long haul, this is going to be, in essence, more cost effective. I buy this vehicle, it's more expensive than the other one, but if I think about all the maintenance that's involved with it, and it's wrapped into this price point, it really isn't a markup. And in essence, the loaner cars that they're going to give me, which are nice, equal to what I have now or better, and I start thinking about all the things, yeah, this is a cost-effective decision. The life expectancy of this vehicle is many, many years longer than what the other car companies say their car will last. So you can think of sometimes you might pay more, but there has to be a reason for it in most purchasers, most buyers' mind. So page 11, what we're working through here is simply understanding customer trends. We're giving you a lot of ways of looking at what those trends are. Make sense? So how do we take this into the marketplace and use it? Page 12. So on the top of this page is a concept called USF. Now, you maybe have heard this before, and if so, great, write down the answer, or variation of it that says the same thing, write down the answer. But if you're not familiar with it, let me give it to you. So how you differentiate yourself from other professionals and how you differentiate your organization's deliverables from other organizations' deliverables is a concept called USF. What are your unique selling features? Write that down. Unique selling features, page 12. Sometimes it's referred to as unique selling proposition. What makes you different? So the easiest way to anchor this in your head, when you write down unique selling feature, circle the word selling and put a little note over to the side. Selling equates to WHAT. It's your what factors. What you can do that they can't do. What your deliverable does that those deliverables can't do. So it's all of the WHATs, the what factors. Now, sometimes there's that old saying, apple to apple comparison. What you're showing the marketplace may seem very similar to what someone else is showing in the marketplace. So how do you differentiate beyond USF number one? Let's add another note in here, because I learned as a sales professional decades ago that sometimes what I'm offering is pretty similar to what the other market opportunity is offering. So USF one, if it really is unique selling feature and selling as WHAT and it looks similar, then the other way you can differentiate is unique service feature. Unique service feature. Write that down for a second element. So if you circled selling and you equate selling to WHATs, all the what factors, then circle service and put a note to the side. Service is all the HOWs. It's how you may operate differently than how they operate. So if you look at how you differentiate a marketplace, top of page 12, there's a lot of ways you can do it. And so I've now differentiated between unique selling and unique service. And there's 8 ways you can differentiate USF 1 and 2. And I just gave them to you on the previous page. So whether you take USF number 1 or you take USF number 2, you can now put a time sign and a number 8 to the side, because there's 8 ways you can differentiate how or what you do based upon technical, financial, user, advocate, better, faster, different, cost effective. And now you can look at your materials you use in the marketplace. Does that make sense? Page 12. Back up to page 11. Back up to page 11. Look at the notes that you wrote down on the bottom of the page. Now, let me show you tactically how you can use it. So let's go over to the bottom right side, EQ answers. Bottom right, where the EQ is. So for 5, 6, 7, 8, you have better, faster, different, cost effective. Let's play a little game here. You're seated at your desk. Somewhere on your desk, you have some different color highlighter markers, those highlighter markers. Put an equal sign to the right of all 4 of the last 4 words on the bottom of this page 11. So put an equal sign to the right of better, put an equal sign to the right of faster, put an equal sign to the right of different, put an equal sign to the right of cost effective. If you're doing this as an organization, all of you should write down the same color, so you create a key, K-E-Y, a key you could use organizationally to really elevate what I've just taught you strategically and put it tactically into motion. What I'm about to share with you here, businesses hire advertising and marketing agencies and pay them tens of thousands of dollars for this next exercise. Heads up. So if you had 4 color highlighters on your desk and you could pick them, let's just arbitrarily pick 4 colors from your stack, and we're going to write down 1 color to the right of each of 5, 6, 7, 8 at a time. So let's grab a highlighter. So if number 5 is better, grab a highlighter. What color did you grab? Let's say yellow. Write down yellow next to number 5, better. So now let's grab a second highlighter. So if number 6 is faster, grab a second one. Green, okay, write down green next to faster. So I have yellow and I have green. So pick a third color. Blue, okay, light blue. So to the right of number 7, different, write down blue. What's the last color you're grabbing? Pink, pink, okay. So to the right of number 8, cost effective, write down pink. So here's a way you can use those 4 colors. If you have a promotional piece of literature right now, you email as a PDF or you hand to people as a handout, hit print on that in black and white and set that on your table. So now every picture, every label, every headline, every graph, every word that deals with better is going to get a yellow highlight. Anything that deals with faster is going to get the second color highlight. Anything that deals with different is going to get the third color highlight. Anything that deals with cost effective is going to get the fourth color highlight. And when you're done with that piece of print material, anything that has black ink on the white piece of paper, no highlight, it serves no psychological motivating factor to cause them to make a decision. Wow. Eliminate it. Let's go to your website. If normal business comes to your website, then let's go to your website as one of your normal avatars. What's the first page or couple of pages that they would visit on your website? Hit print on those pages in black and white settings. Set those on a piece of paper, on a desk, your piece of paper on a desk. Go with those 4 highlighters. So that first landing page of your website, anything that speaks to better is going to get a yellow. Anything that speaks to faster, different, cost effective is going to get those other colors. When you're done, look at that printout of your landing page. Anything that's black inked, words, pictures, labels, headlines, graphs, it doesn't have color ink on it, serves no psychological value in motivating someone to take action. Wow. Hey, do you have any emails right now that you've sent to people that you've sent to them where you're proposing them buy more or buy something new and they haven't responded back? Do you have an RFP where you've sent to them to buy something and haven't responded back? Then if so, hit print on that email, that RFP or that proposal in black and white settings and do the exact same drill I just did with you. Go through your email. Anything get yellow ink, gets pink ink, gets green ink, gets blue ink. When you're done, anything in your email that's black ink on that white piece of paper, no color highlight, that word or words or sentence serves no psychological value in motivating them to take action. Absolutely huge what you've just done here on page 11. So think about, again, looking at customer trends, the psychology of the purchase tells us when people buy from you, their brain is going to make a decision. But now we've stopped, pause, went back and looked at the brain making a decision, realized that there's 8 components, 8 elements, 8 phases to making a decision. And one person may own all 8 or several people may own. And the more involved the process of the sell is, there's a likelihood that more than one person is going to be involved. Well, which of those 8 do they own? And then as a stakeholder, you'll know what additional information or people on your side of the organization to bring in as subject matter experts to help speak to those categories so that you have the right brains talking to the right brains to make the right decisions. Wow. Page 12. So now we go back up to 12 again, still with USF, and we now have 2 ways of looking at it. Unique selling feature, what's, unique service feature, how's, and 8 ways to break that down, previous page. Let's just take one example of how this might look strategically in a marketplace. What I recognize is that the marketplace that we deal with, the people that consume our deliverable or purchase our deliverable or may have influence on who consumes or purchases our deliverable, fall into age ranges. And it's very important for selling success to recognize how you can connect better with centurions, baby boomers, Gen XY, millennials, or Generation Z in the marketplace. So on page 12, I want to walk you into a model that we created years ago with Anheuser-Busch and working with them. And we use it both in our leadership track as well as our sales track. And this is just, again, one of many strategic ways of looking at what you do and how you do things. So to use this model, think of this as an inverted L grid. So if you were to put a horizontal line across the top of the page, right below all of those age ranges, draw a horizontal line. So it's right below Centurion to Z. And then on the far left side, let's draw a vertical line then from that horizontal line down to the bottom of the page. Let's draw a vertical line down. So now you've created an inverted upside down L grid. So on the left side of that vertical line, I want you to put some letters from top to bottom. Just give a little bit of space between each. So from the top to the bottom on the left side of the vertical line, write down A, B, C, and then MAPS, M-A-P-S, M-A-P-S, ABC MAPS. So here's how the model works. Regardless of your age, because again, remember there's a very powerful adage in business and in sales, help me out. Perception is reality. So this page is a perception page. It's a perception game. It's a generalization page, a generalization game. It's a stereotyping page, a stereotyping game. Until you have hard data to change the variables you're about to write down, at least start with some generalizations that give you some clues as to how to readjust your approach to better connect and sell within different age ranges, because there are some unique differences to each of these five, and your ability to know them and nuance that is going to allow you to become much more effective much quicker. Your inability to recognize this may actually be your own derailments and why you're not able to make sales to different age ranges. So here's how the ABC maps work when we created it for Anheuser-Busch. The objective was, Jeff, how can our people of different age ranges connect with each other more effectively? How can people that are in management at an older age connect to people at a significantly younger age? Or vice versa? How do people at a younger age in leadership management connect with some of their more seasoned veterans at the older age range and do it instantly without offending or we're not talking about, in essence, placating or trying to play to someone. Just how do we connect? So I came up with the ABC map. So the way that works is that each of these letters will represent a brain trigger to help you to think of words you could write down directly under the age ranges to give you clues as to how to better connect with them. If any one of these letters work and get your brain going, you don't need to worry about the others. But if any one of these ABC map letters wasn't working for you, that's why I come up with another one to kind of keep you going. So A stands for attributes. So let's create a key in your handout right now. A is for attributes. B is for behaviors. Behaviors. C, characteristics. Characteristics. So A is attributes, B is behaviors, C is characteristics. Maps. M. M is for morals. Morals. A, attitudes. Attitudes. P, personality. Personality. S, spiritual. Spiritual. So what I recognize is ways to step outside of how you look at yourself and may look at someone to see how they may operate, which will give you new ways behaviorally and strategically to engage them and how to sell them and how to speak to them and what to deliver and what their expectations are. And simply to back up. So if you think about a centurion, you're thinking about a centurion. What are some of the attributes or behaviors or characteristics of a centurion? You might get a floodgate of words you can start to write down. And again, we're not talking about old or gray or bald. That doesn't work. But typically, here's some of the words for centurion. You write down a couple, I'll write down a couple. Typically, when I say describe a centurion using the ABC Maps model, people will come up with words such as centurions tend to be, in essence, dedicated. They're more dedicated in their behaviors. They're dedicated. They're loyal. They're more loyal. They're conservative. Conservative. Judgmental. Or set in their ways. So any of those words are good. So now I know if I'm selling to a centurion, they're dedicated or loyal or they're committed or they're conservative, which means if they're buying from someone, they're very loyal to them. I can't come in and try to undermine their decision because they're going to take it personally. I have to show them that, hey, what decisions you've been making have been great up to today. Now, given some new data, some new facts, some new knowledge, some new opportunities that I have available to you, it may be worth making a new decision, not changing your mind, but making a new decision that might lean itself towards purchasing mine or going with me. It's a whole different way of looking at things. How this is safe. Baby boomers. Some of the words for centurion may go over to baby boomers, but additional words. Baby boomers, they are competitive driven, competitive, materialistic, family. values became bigger with them in the workplace. So again, if I'm dealing with a baby boomer, that might be some of the drivers. They like, in essence, competition, the keeping up with the Joneses statement. So again, they like those elements. The automotive industry learned this years ago. Think about it. Toyota, Honda, and Nissan, all three have premium car divisions. And basically, it's a double price Toyota. It's called a Lexus. Why? Because baby boomers years ago were the materialistic generation population, and they will pay a lot more for something just to be different and be seen as a cut above. Boom. Gives you the clues. Generation X and Y. Some of the words to the left may also be describers of them, but Generation X and Y, we start to see some change. This is the transition generation. Generation X and Y, they may purchase and look and act and operate like people to the left, but sometimes Generation X and Y start looking at things differently, so you start seeing lots of newer ways of doing things. Technology. Think about it. Centurions may want a brochure in their hand. Generation X and Y is going to want to know what the URL is so they can check it out on their phone or on their computer. Generation X is the transition generation, much more footloose, open to change, much more techie, technology driven, social consciousness. Go to millennials. Millennials may have some of the words to the left, but millennials are much more urgent. Millennials are much more, in essence, in the moment. Millennials are much more me-driven. Nothing negative about that. So you can't say entitlement because that sounds negative, and that's not the right way of looking at it. They may be entitlement-driven, but it's the way they've been raised and conditioned. They want the newest of everything. They're not typically loyal to the same product. They may be loyal to the same vendor, like Apple. I'm going to buy an Apple. Everything I have is an Apple, but I have the brand newest of Apple. So millennial are a little bit different in terms of how they look at things. But now we also have with millennials dedicated. When a millennial decides that they like a something, they become very loyal and dedicated to that brand or that way of doing things. So again, those elements. And then Generation Z may have some of the words to the left, or they may have differing words. So we also give you a population index under each of these, just so you have a perspective of what is that age range and how do they tend to look at things. Generation Z is that youngest generation. We're still getting a lot of data in on how they operate. But one thing we are finding about Z is Zs don't operate like their older brother and sister millennials. Zs are actually having some of the character traits of the ABC maps of the centurions. Zs are a little bit more conservative and cautious. Zs are a little bit more quiet. But once a Z decides to make a decision of something, they are very committed to that thing, and they're not easily changed and swayed. So the Zs, the jury is still out a little bit. But we do have a lot of hard data samples, and you can Google this stuff later if you want more information. There's some great resources out there also on generational connectedness if you're looking at how to sell and buy and market to them more effectively. Again, I have a lot of information on my website. Again, in your book, there's going to be some information, diagrams, and charts. But there's also a lady out there that has ABC University, Sarah Sladak. Sarah Sladak, a great resource for you to Google. Another gentleman, Jason Dorsey. Jason Dorsey. So again, if you want more on generational connectedness and segmentation, as we're talking about on page 12, those would be a couple of places where you could go to connect and get more information. Make sense? Woo! Strategically, we've given you a lot of ideas on these last couple of pages. One more to go, page 13. So in terms of measuring the customer and looking at the marketplace, we've talked about over the last couple of pages are ways of looking at established models that are out there that I've grabbed onto and shown you how to use. And then some models I've then evolved and come up with myself. To page 13 is my own research project. So again, you didn't come into this webinar series to hear me talk about other people per se, and so hopefully you've heard a lot of my ideas so far. Here's another one on page 13. It's called the Reliable Care Formula. The Reliable Care Formula. Over a 3-year period of time, I surveyed my own customers when I was doing seminars and conferences and programs and consulting and coaching across the globe. So from North America to South America to Europe and to Asia. These were questions I posed in terms of when you and I are a customer, what do we want out of that other person or organization? It gives us a reason to stay with it. So conversely, when an organization doesn't do some of these, we may start to look at taking our business and going somewhere else. So I call it the Reliable Care Formula. So as you write these down on page 13, your homework assignment after this webinar is to think about application. How do you do these now? Or how could you do it better now? Or if you're not doing any of this, how do you need to start doing it now? So customers want to do business with people that, number one, are reliable. So R stands for reliable. If your brand promise on your website, business card, handout, brochures, voicemails, your mouth says X, you better be able to deliver X. That would be an example of reliable. if they know that your product is reliable. And again, you can just think in your head of different products in the marketplace that have built a reputation on being reliable. It's why customers keep going back to them. Whether it's cheapest or more expensive, doesn't matter. If you're reliable, you're going to build a following. C stands for caring. Do you telegraph to your customers in your marketplace that you care about them? And if not, how can you application-wise start doing that, caring? Now, stay with me on this model of R-C-A-R-E. I'm still on line number 2 for C. I'm going to give you an alternate word to put next to caring. Because out of 10,058 answers, when they came back, a lot of answers had similarities, and that's how they ended up in one stack. And then all of a sudden I get a word that was different, it went into a second stack. And then if I got another word that was different than the first two, it went into a third stack. And that's how I ended up with these 5 stacks of basically answers. Lots of different words, but they fell into these 5 categories. Well, the number one word that came out of these 10,058 responses, and that's a massive survey, folks. Gallup organization, one of the Globe and one of America's branded survey organizations, audit companies, they'll survey typically 50 to 100 people and put that out there for the universe to consume. So 10,058 was massive. So another word for caring is attractive. Stay with me on number 2. C is caring, or another word is attractive. Are you an attractive option to the individuals or organizations that do business with you? Because that was number 2. Number 3 then is going to be, in essence, the element of appreciation. Do we appreciate that customer? So caring and attractive is one way, appreciation is second. They really are 2 different words. So how do we appreciate them? Do we care for them? And are we responsive to their needs? Number 4, in the world of sales by itself, you may want to circle number 4. Because in sales, number 4 is critically important. It might even be the most important of these 5. 4 is going to be responsiveness. Are you responsive to customers' needs? I mean, if you go to my website, there's a chat box in the bottom right corner. And even if my website's not being manned at that time, if you put a message in that chat box, it actually comes to me on my cell phone as a text instantly so I can respond back to you. So think about those websites you go to that have chat bots. That's an example of being responsive. There's an 800 line where you can get someone to get your information or call back instantly. That's responsiveness. If someone leaves you a voicemail and you respond in a timely manner, that's responsiveness. So again, a lot of times when people are looking for something, unless you solely are the only deliverable in the marketplace, what they're after. When someone leaves you a voicemail that they're looking to order from you, they're not going to wait forever before they go to the competition. So responsiveness is critically important. And then the E, number 5, is going to be empathy. Are we empathetic with the marketplace? Are we empathetic with that customer? Do we, in essence, telegraph to them we really do care about you and understand you, and we can get into the same shoes with you on a daily basis? So what you get here at page 13, my performance-driven selling number 2 model, is the reliable care formula is a tool that I created, and it came to me by talking to my own customers and people in my workshops. What is it customers are looking for? And so this gives you a very powerful tool to recognize. So if you were to do an internal audit, ask yourself individually or by department or team, are we providing outbound reliable care to our customers? You want to create a survey, there's 5 great questions just to ask of your own customers. Are we reliable? And if so, how? And if not, why not? Or you could score. So on a scale of reliability, 1, not reliable, 5, absolutely reliable, or would you score? So you can create all kinds of Survey Monkey or some sort of survey platform you can use to get data back on a regular basis. So what we've now done in Sales Mastery, Performance-Driven Selling, webinar number 2, is taking the strategy side of selling a little bit further. Now we're starting to introduce you to some tactical ways to do the strategic side, to really guard against losing business and to create a strong balance that you stand upon in terms of how you engage that marketplace. I'm Jeff McGee. Thanks for joining us here on webinar number 2 of Sales Mastery. Look at these ideas, use these ideas, and come back for webinar number 3. So again, let's talk about the implementation and application of what you've just walked through in this webinar. What's most important is how you're going to be able to use this in your own business. So whether you're watching this as a solo business practitioner or a sales professional, or if you're watching this through the lens of being a business leader or business owner, the implementation is the same. You just scale up my ideas to the level of ability within the scope of what you can and cannot do in your business. So if I've just watched this webinar, here are the ways I would start using this to significantly up my game. Whether I'm doing prospecting, whether I'm doing some sort of outreach marketing, whether that's through direct mail or social media or email, whether I'm looking at how I engage people one-on-one, whether it's telephone or some video conferencing platform, or whether I'm out on the job site or out with the customers or interfacing with them, again, one-on-one or in group dynamics, it does not matter. First thing is I would actually create a survey. I would create a document, whether you use some sort of platform out there in the internet world. SurveyMonkey.com is a platform that's been around for a long time, has a free portal side, has a paid side. There's a lot of other platforms, but that's what I'm familiar with and I've used off and on for many, many years. You could do this old school and just create what I would give as an application here, and I would just email it out or print it out and have it on the side of your desk. And whenever you're having a conversation with someone that's appropriate, I mean, you could just ask any one of these questions and kind of chronicle the answers, and over time get validation that what you're doing is truly unique in industry and it's what sets you apart. So keep doing it, double down. Or ways to change and up your game to be, again, more effective with your clients so that they don't get a chance to think about leaving. But the real element of models 1 and 2 here we talked about in this webinar was looking at trend data. Again, in and of itself, this could be a week-long conversation. So we're just scratching the surface with each of these webinars to get you to think strategically. So we talked about trend data. So the form organization gives you 4 clues as to why people don't come to you. And I flipped that on and said this may also be a reason why they're not responding to you. So I would create some survey analytics to just ask, again, the form corporation's questions of, again, vetting and finding out the price point of your product. Is your price point, appropriate for the marketplace, no matter where it sits, whether it's low, right within the, the pack of everyone else, where your price point's high. What's the value proposition? Always be asking some survey questions, again, on page 11 to number 2 at the top of that page in terms of needs. What's the marketplace needs of today and tomorrow? And you can find it out by doing surveys. And your current clients, what are their needs? What projects are they going to be working on in 6 months to a year? And how do we position ourselves to be able to fulfill those needs? See, that's a survey question right there. A lot of times we are so focused on fulfilling the client's needs right now that we're really not building that relationship, rapport, and conversation of finding out what are they going to be doing down the road, in 6 months or a year or 5 years. Is there a merger and acquisition coming on that might impact our ability to keep doing business with them or do more business or less business? So the form corporation's questions of basically price, need, perception, communication, those can be survey questions in and of itself. And you can do that both internally and externally, as we talk about on page 11, to help you to kind of always be building better relationships. Because again, we don't typically leave individuals where we feel like we have a robust, effective, relationship. It's easy to leave people when we feel like there's a problem in here or there is no relationship. Then, we jump all over the place. I think another great way of looking at your business, whether you're a sales leader, business owner, or a sales representative at the front line, or you're a recruiter to your organization, is look at your centers of influences, which we'll talk about in later webinars. But are you providing them reliable care, as we taught you basically there on page 13? Again, you could be asking those 5 letters of RCARE. Think about what they mean in your business, and you could create sub-survey questions to each of those 5 categories to find out if what you're delivering that you believe is important is valued by the recipient, and or other ways to accomplish each of those. Again, the more you stay connected with your customers, not only is it a little bit harder for them to leave you, but they start to become, in essence, bigger advocates of you. I fly a lot with Delta Airlines. Doesn't make them right, wrong, good, bad, but at the taping of this webinar, they're one of the global leaders at what they do. And I'm doing about 15 to 20 airline flights every month. And in the nature of my business, flying both domestically and globally to serve my clients, because you're typically my office, you're my customer. So this is a different experience with this webinar where you get to come to here where I am versus me coming to you. And with those flights, every time I walk off that plane, I know my phone's going to ping, my computer's going to ping, and I'm going to get a 1 survey question because of the flight status that I have with them, several millions of miles, that asks 1 basic question about that flight. And depending upon how I answer it, will trigger either a drop-down question or no question. But they're tracking 1 quick thing every time I'm a customer with them to make sure that transaction is as high as possible, so that way they can maintain the relationship, because they don't want it to be just a transactional selling sort of a situation with me. They want it to be a relationship with me, so they're tracking that data. So again, the points of 11, 12, 13, and 14 is again looking at the data out there from the marketplace, but always be asking yourself, am I connected with my customers, my best customers, my mid-range customers, my infrequent customers? You could even do surveying as a way to generate some strategic intel to find out even how to market to a new marketplace. So I spend a lot of time with my clients talking about and relating to them how to use this. If you're a new salesperson, the reliable care formula is a very powerful way. If you think about this, a very powerful way strategically to get your name in front of a prospect that can open up the door for a selling conversation down the road where you will be approaching that new name in a way that, trust me, no other sales professional organization does, and outreach to say, hey, I would like to potentially work with you, Mrs. or Mr. Customer to be. But before I earn that right, I'd like to know some things about you. And so surveys are very powerful elements. We'll talk more about that a little bit later as well, but here's an example of survey. So again, look at the application, look at implementation, ways you could take what you just experienced in this second webinar in our series of Sales Mastery, Performance-Driven Selling Skills with Dr. Jeffrey McGee. We look forward to seeing you on the next webinar.
Thank you for attending today's webinar. Tad Stevens, CPEthink.com here. With a little housekeeping. To get your certificate of completion, if you will look at the screen here, this is what your take exam column will look like before you complete the webinar or before it's over. After the webinar is over, give us about 30 to 60 minutes and we will have it up, the system updated from the webinar provider, and it will look like this so that you can get your certificate of completion. If you have any support issues, just click the chat bubble down at the bottom, open a new conversation like that, and we'll get it taken care of, or send us an email to service@cpethink.com. Thanks a lot.